Good afternoon to all our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We're happy to welcome all those who are listening on radio via WeFM, Vibes FM. We've got Spice Capital Radio. We've got 100.5 FM out of Labby in Grenville. We've got Right Along out of Brooklyn, New York. And we now wish to invite and share with you our new station out of New York, Rampoon Radio Online. So, for today's program, what we're going to be doing, due to some technical difficulties, we are going to be doing a rerun of last week's interview, which I held with the Minister of Finance. Very important information there, so please join us.
The NMP, therefore, will look seriously at the possibility of paying government public workers every 2 weeks, not every month, as it appears to be at this time.
It's already happening in some sectors. For example, in construction, for example, in the hotel sector, people are paid fortnightly or twice a month. So all we were saying is we will extend that across the nation and give all our workers the opportunity to be paid twice a month.
Pie in the sky type promises.
Now again, the reaction is, this is pie in the sky. And my response is, we intend to put the pie on the plate. Enacting of the government's commitment, which was made by us pre the election, that on assuming office, we will take steps to ensure that the salaries of public servants are paid on a bi-monthly basis. I'm indeed happy and pleased to announce that that will come into effect on the 15th of April 2023. You have chosen unity over disunity. You have chosen resilience, flexibility, inclusiveness and strength over infighting, weakness, vacillation or wish-washiness. You have chosen boldness and courage over timidity and the same old, same old. You have chosen positive change and transformation. You have sent a clear and resounding message to the tri-island state of Petit Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada that the National Democratic Congress is once more on the path of inspiring hope and belief in our people and in our nation. That the National Democratic Congress is once more on the path of beginning the process of creating a sustainable and brighter future for our young, vibrant, creative, and innovative population. You have recognized and honored and rewarded the tremendous contributions made by all of the NDC stalwarts. And for this superb choice, I say thank you.
What we'll be doing today is, a conversation with the Minister of Finance. First of all, to ask him what's happening in his constituency. Then he launched recently a household pilot project. It's a project that he is going to share with us. Is the bond project. And so you'll be chatting about that. Then we'll be talking about a midterm report, just a little bit, which was filed not too long ago. So let me say welcome once again, Minister, to the Heartbeat. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And again,
Wonderful.
It's always a pleasure to be on the Heartbeat.
Fantastic.
To communicate or dialogue with the listeners from Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. and in the diaspora. Again, it's a lovely Sunday, as you have mentioned, one day after my big birthday.
Yep, well, happy belated.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday. There are lots of September and October people
September born.
in this government and party. Hard workers.
Hard workers.
Wonderful. Tell us what's happening in your constituency. How are things going there?
So Terry, following up on what we've said in the last interviews that we've had, St. Patrick is continuing to basically forge ahead, meeting the needs of the people of St. Patrick in particular, and Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Now, you would recall after Beryl, we have started to do a number of houses to basically put citizens back where they were prior to the hurricane. And in previous occasion, I've mentioned that we have built several houses. The question is, though, we cannot finish all the houses in one go, so we have to do it in stages. So while I speak at the moment, houses are continuing to be built. Some would have been a bit delayed than others, but we are continuing to do our work. Again, we have actually built many roads in St. Patrick East. I talk about this Havanaho Road, the one in Glacier, the one in Banway. There's one in Hermitage, between Dega and Hermitage, another one in Bonham Road. There's another piece in the location at the back of Pegler Alley, somewhere there. And there are a lot of bits and pieces that we're getting done. Even in the Montrose area, again, we have another road that we're building close to the Pan Shoes. So Grenada is moving speedily. In the Roselle Liver area, we also have been doing some road on the Peter and at the back of the Roselle Community Center area. That road is to basically give the travelers who go to the Batway Beach an alternative to get to Batway Beach, because the main road between River Sally and Batway has been compromised because of the heavy trucks that are traveling on that road to bring materials to the Grenada National Resort Hotel, a 500-bedroom hotel that is quite on its way right now. We are hoping that by the first quarter of 2027, that major hotel, 500-bedroom hotel, will come on stream. It will be one of the largest hotels. It's the largest hotel in Grenada once it's completed. And so the north of Grenada will be very much blessed to have that additional development to make sure that we can show our people massive improvement in that area. Otherwise, we have been continuing to support our football competition or cricket competition, and shortly we'd have another over 40 competition coming up. And again, I would say thanks to the persons or the mobilizers in the community that would have that done in River Sally, playing field and so on. So there are lots coming up for us and so on.
Fantastic, fantastic. I know the folks out in Leverett, as a result of that hotel project, they have been clamoring for repairs of the road. And while some repairs, have taken place, of course, the heavy trucks, one is to expect. Where there is progress, there must be sacrifice.
That's right. So we have responded to the minor repairs that we have to do. And in fact, I was there last week again, and the road has improved in a big way. But whenever the rain starts falling and the water starts running, we have to basically be mindful that we might have to go back there and do some more work there. But I've always asked the people of St. Patrick East for patience. Patience, because there is always a saying, progress comes with a cost.
Yeah.
And that cost means your road might be damaged temporarily, but we'll have the road and the hotel built and make the north of Grenada a paradise.
Absolutely so indeed. All right. Well, before we get into the household bond pilot project, which you launched early this week, last week actually, there you had several budget consultations, of course, before your budget presentation. You want to share with us some of the experiences there?
Yes, Terry. Shortly after the carnival in August, we mobilized our permanent secretaries, finance officers, heads of departments at the Radisson Hotel, where we had a retreat on the 2026 budget. We would have actually imparted several bits and pieces of information to the public there. And once that was over, which was a successful meeting, we issued the budget circular call to the ministries and department, asking them to go back to the ministries and put together the requests for the upcoming budget 2026. Now we have given them deadlines as to when we want that information back, because the information they would submit to us would have to be reviewed by the budget department to make sure that we have everything lined up in accordance with government's direction and policies and so on. And so we have as of last Friday, received most of the budget prepared by the Ministry and Department. And so this week, the Budget Department will be reviewing all those submissions to make sure, as I said, in line with the government policies. And then subsequently, there will be a submission to Cabinet. Cabinet will also look at the numbers submitted by the various departments, make sure that they're in line. And once that is agreed upon, we then move to something called the Finance Committee meeting, where both parliamentarians on the opposite side as well as the government side would again review those numbers, go through to a fine-tooth comb to make sure that what we have put in that budget would be agreed upon. And then subsequently, we will take it to the Parliament for approval. We have earmarked December 1st as the budget presentation day. And this is no secret because we have an obligation to present the budget every year for the country to be able to operate on. I mean, last year's budget, that's 2025 budget, was presented in March of 2025. And we all know why, because we had a Hurricane Beryl in July of 2024, which basically pushed a number of things backward because we had to make sure that we put things in place to rebuild our country. And so we had a late presentation in March of 2025. This year, we're going to give you an early budget, December 1st. And so there will be no hullabaloo and all talk about, oh, the budget is delayed and the Ministry of Finance is not managing the country well and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and they consider presenting the budget in March as illegal and all those things. We have showed them that there is no illegality about presenting a budget 3 months after the year has completed, because in the Fiscal Management Act or the Finance Management Act, there is provisions to cater for when there is a budget that is presented late and so on. You just provide 3 months of financing for the budget, and then after, when the budget is passed, we basically report on that also for the population. So there was nothing illegal about it, and we are behind that right now, so because we're talking about the 2026 budget, which we are preparing for December 1st.
Well, I mean, interestingly, in the past, budgets have been laid very late for good reasons.
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong if you have to delay the presentation.
Right. For those who don't understand either, I worked at the budget department. In fact, I was the chief budget officer for many years. And so I have actually worked under several administration, and in some cases, the budget was presented 3 months after the year has closed. It's no new news. It's no biggie.
Nothing new.
Some people try to make it look as though they were the ones who instituted the budget before the end of the year, and it's something that is so magnificent. There's nothing magic about it and so on. So I just wanted to put it on the table.
All right. Now, with respect to the budget consultations, what would you say have been the participation like throughout the country?
Right. So we have done the budget consultation in each parish. St. Patrick, St. Andrews, St. David, St. George's, St. John's, St. Mark's. And in various cases and so on, the turnout physically in the room was different. But we've had a situation whereby we had live streaming of those events and so on. So we have participation from persons outside of the venue and so on.
Right.
I think that the timing of the retreat, or the timing of those town hall meetings and so on, we probably need to look at how we better time that, because 7 o'clock in the afternoon or 6 o'clock in the afternoon when people just come in from work. And that could be an impact on why we didn't see large channels in some of the meetings and so on. Again, people tell you that they might have been fatigued with having to do the same thing over and over every year and so on. You have that, you have burnout sometimes and so on. But all in all, we believe that the cry for consultation and we need to let the people know what was happening out there was a good initiative and so on, that we went out in all the parishes and to make sure that we allow the population to know what is happening. In fact, we had the advertisement on social media, as well as we had cases where we had a physical vehicle going out and announce the meetings coming up and so on. So yes, we've had all the meetings. In Carriacou also we had Carriacou on board, so Carriacou was not left out. And so we are proud to say that we have consulted everyone. Subsequent to that, we have had various sectorial consultations, agriculture, fisheries, agro-processing, all of these people, the unions, various sectors were actually interviewed and so on.
Right.
Even the private sector, as well as the statutory bodies, had their share of consultation. So when you hear people talk about there is not sufficient consultation, You have to give them the facts and so on, that we did it. If they chose not to come out and listen and make their input. In fact, as I speak, we have a website that is still available, open for ongoing consultation. However, that consultation will come to an end because we have to put our schedules, close up things and so on to make sure that we meet the deadlines and the schedule that we have presented. So,
yeah, fantastic. Well, what would you say from the interaction you've had? What would you say is the main area of interest or concern?
Well, we've had several areas of concern or interest by the population. Some people believe that we need to at least concentrate a lot more on the youth and give the youth a chance to benefit from what the government is doing out there. I agree that wholeheartedly. And it's not that we have not given the youth a chance. We have provided a venue for that to happen. People are still concerned about, well, you know, the agriculture sector is not moving as fast as it is. But I would say that, again, having come out from on the barrel with devastation in everywhere in the northern part and Carriacou and Petit Martinique, we have since then imported animals to basically breed among themselves to make sure that we can improve the the meat stock in Grenada.
Yeah.
So still for all, we have started in this point in time distributing some of the animals. I think the pigs were distributed in some cases, but there are other animals to be distributed. And again, for those persons who are saying that they have not benefited and they can't pay $3,000 and $5,000 for animals, this is not meant to be just distributed among everyone in the country. We have to make sure that we do the right thing to make sure that at the end of the program we have a serious meat production in this country and so on. And when I say meat production, we don't have to basically go and import cows from St. Vincent or pork from elsewhere or import chicken into our country. We want to make sure that we build that sector to a large extent. We talked about the housing earlier on, where we spent a lot of monies in making sure that people are back on their feet. In the agriculture sector, just after Beryl, we spent over $34 million. I mean, you hear people say that they didn't get part of it and so on, but there are people who might have tried to fox the system many a times. That they probably submit a name under the wife or under the husband and so on. And they're boasting about that outside and so on, that we have problems in this distribution. But let me say that whatever the government has done in agriculture, it has done it properly to make sure that most of the persons who are into the agriculture sector benefit from it. There are those who get, and they're on platform talking nonsense about, the government gave their parties as only and so on. I could tell you, but I wouldn't say it here. There are some people who know that they are talking rubbish on the radios and on their programs and so on. They didn't come and collect the check. They sent other persons to collect the check. And so we know who they are. So stop the nonsense, please.
All right. Well, I know that the Minister of Agriculture, he has a number of programs going, and hopefully farmers will take advantage of these initiatives so that we can step up on our production levels.
I mean, in agriculture right now, there are several initiatives taking places. I mean, we sell a bag of feed, a bag of manure, for example, at $1 per pound, a kilo. And people are still talking about the inputs in agriculture is too expensive. I mean, we buy it and we sell it over to you, or we got it as grants and we give it over to you free of cost, put it that way.
Yeah.
And you're still complaining. I heard a guy on radio there talking about the price of breadfruit and cabbage in the market and so on, and talking about even what we import and put in the shop, they can't buy it. Even what we grow locally and so on, they can't buy it and so on. I don't know where he's living. God forbid.
All right. Now, before we get on to the substantive matter of the household bond pilot project, I noticed, was it last week or so, you had the midterm financial report. You want to just skim over that, give us an understanding as to what it means when you say the midterm financial report?
Okay, so as an operating government, we have an obligation to provide information on the performance of the government's budget and projects and initiatives and so on. And thanks to the department, that's policy division in the Ministry of Finance, headed by Ms. Tony Adams and her team, they would have done a good report showing what has happened in the country. They still show that despite all that has happened, Grenada continued to show growth. Our growth in 2025 would be somewhere in the region of the 3%. Wow. Yes, there was a reason why the growth rate has come down to where it is right now. It used to be somewhere in the region of 4 point something or 5% thereabout. Again, we have to look at what is happening in Grenada in conjunction with what is happening elsewhere in the world. If, for example, inflation is coming down, which is about 0.6% in the world right now, and we are still talking about the price of commodities in the market are high. I would say to them, yes, it's high, but there are a lot of things happening outside the reach of the government that we have no control over and so on. The shipping to get goods from China elsewhere to Grenada and so on has gone up significantly, not because of Grenada's doing. And even if we do the best by reducing the tax on some of the items or zero rating some of those, we still do have produce that are going to be landing here very expensive. Yeah,
shipping is still going up.
Right. We are encouraging people to grow local and eat local and so on. But you see, if you have a population that is mindset is on, we only looking at things that are coming from abroad, then we have a difficulty at the end of the day. Even the chicken that we love so much in Grenada and so on, we import most of our meat from abroad and so on. Again, there might be problems in Grenada that we cannot supply all the chicken and the pork and so on that we would have liked to at the moment. But we have put things in place to make sure that at the end of the day, those things can rise to the occasion so that we can have self-sufficiency. But don't let anybody fool you outside and tell you that the price of commodities and so on are only expensive because NDC in office and so on. It has always been that way and so on. We have put in place measures to try and reduce that. But again, the price of the good on the shelf does not depend only on the government.
All right. Well, what we're going to do is to take a short break. We still have the issue of not the issue, but the subject matter of the household bond pilot project so that we can get onto that. But we'll take a short break and come right back. Stay with us.
Get ready for a night of celebration. The NDC New York chapter proudly invites you to our party's 30th anniversary and awards reception. Happening October 18th at 7:30 p.m. right here at Our Lady of Miracles Paris Center, 757 East 86th Street, between Flatlands Avenue and Glenwood Road in Brooklyn. Dress to impress and join us as we honor our legacy and empower our future with special guest of honor, Honorable Kerrin James, MP for St. John. Tickets are $150 all inclusive. Get your early bird discount for just $125 before September 19th. Visit ndcnewyorkchapter.com or call 347-729-5770 for more information. Celebrate Grenada's excellence. Secure your ticket now for the NDC New York chapter's 30th anniversary and award reception. Be part of an unforgettable night of elegance and class. Don't miss the party of the year. See you there.
Grenada is moving forward, and young people like you are at the heart of it. The National Democratic Youth Movement is all about connecting, learning, and making real impact. This is your chance to be a part of something bigger, to grow, to lead, and shape the future while making a difference. If you are ready to step up, have your voice heard, and help build a better Grenada, then the National Democratic Youth Movement is the organization for you. Join us because you are the future.
Welcome back to the NDC Heartbeat podcast for today's Sunday. And in studio with me is the Honorable Dennis Cornwall. He's the Minister for Finance and he's also the Parliamentary Representative for St. Patrick East. Minister, before we went on the break, we promised to deal with the subject matter of the household bond pilot project. I know there have been a lot of discussions about it, but before we get into it, let me just remind listeners and viewers is that the presentation by the Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, was made at the United Nations yesterday, Saturday. We'll be showing this right after our interview. We'll also be sharing with you a presentation made by the Honorable Prime Minister. He was joined by the Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs and also Mr. Leslie McQueen out of Florida. He's a representative for Grenada at that mission out there. And an entire 20-foot container of tools was supplied to NULO. So stay for this and also the presentation by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell to the United Nations. So, Minister, good of you to be in studio. And before we get into the bond pilot project, there's been talk about the FROC, the Fiscal Responsibility Oversight Committee. Explain to our listeners and viewers what is the responsibility of the FROC and how are they going so far?
Okay. So thank you, Terry, again. And I should basically try to explain to you what is the Fiscal Responsibility Oversight Committee. That's a committee that was established by Parliament. And this committee basically reviews government performance, look at where the government needs advising on and provide advice to the government on the fiscal policies and other issues that the government would have been undertaken. So far, the Fiscal Oversight Review Committee, headed by Ms. Laurel Bain, a Grenadian former employee of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, very senior person. She's headed that. There are other Grenadians on that committee that is basically providing that service to Grenadians. It's not a committee that is created by the NDC, because NDC doesn't have any control over the work that they do, because a parliamentary committee that is established to make sure that Grenadians get to know what's happening economically and financially, and they always provide advice to governments where need to be.
Right. How long has the FROC been in existence?
Well, the FROC has been in existence prior to the NDC getting into office this time around. So it was created under the former administration. It was called the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Over time, this has changed to the Fiscal Resilience Act, not only because of change of government, but there were things that we wanted to ensure that this rule-based committee fine-tune some of the things that we had in there. There are parameters that deal with wages and salaries. There were parameters that deal with the debt to GDP and the levels at which the debt's supposed to be. It also dealt with issue concerning the surplus that the government need to have in place to ensure that there is sustainability. So over the years, these things were actually enhanced and improved. And so we went to Parliament and we had some changes in the legislation, and it was renamed the Fiscal Resilience Act instead of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. So far, so good, and I think the Parliament can report that the committee has been reporting on a timely basis, and they have done a good job for Grenada thus far.
Fantastic. Well, just so that the public understands, the FROC, Fiscal Responsibility Oversight Committee, was almost a mandate from the World Bank to the previous administration in order to hold the government accountable financially for what is happening in the country. And it continues to do a pretty good job in my estimation, and not partisan in any way whatsoever. That's their focus, to ensure that the government maintains accountability in every step of the way.
That's right. In fact, under the previous administration, I think our esteemed colleague, Mr. Richard Duncan, OB, was the chairman of the Fiscal Responsibility, the FROC, Fiscal Oversight Committee. It is now headed by another Grenadian, Miss Laurel Bain, a former employee of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. And so we are not basically taking these things by chance. We take on board people who we know can provide the country with valuable information so that it's clear. There's not an NNP or NDC kind of situation and so on. It's a body, a committee that has reputable people on it, and they provide good advice and information to the general public.
Great. So, regarding your recent announcement of the household bond pilot project, has the FROC responded to this? Have they commented on it?
Well, I would say that the household bond that we are talking about is one of the first bonds that we are issuing in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. It's a pilot project that is being initiated by St. Kitts and Nevis and Grenada. What we did last week was to do a soft launch of this household bond here in Grenada. It's an instrument, a financial instrument, which would be issued on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange or the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange. And so we have gone to the Eastern Caribbean securities market and asked for certain privileges so that we can allow every Grenadian man who has a little savings and wants to basically invest on the stock market will be able to do so in due course. So this first household bond is intended to raise $5 million. Now, it's not so much about the $5 million that we're trying to raise, but it's more so to get the common man, the household in Grenada, to be able to get the know-how as to how to invest in the stock market. The stock market has been in existence since 2002, but most likely they were basically providing for the banks, the credit union, the insurance company, the other businesses that were able to participate. If an individual would have been able to participate, that means that person had good resources that they can pay the fees and so on and get on board. Again, the bonds that were issued, the treasury that were issued, they were done on the basis that if a company could push the rate down from, let's say, 2% to under 1% and so on, they might be that's a rate that was prevailing at that bond issue or treasury issue. Now, this one that we are talking about, as I said, is a pilot. We're trying to basically gauge the market as to how much persons in our population are interested in investing in that particular instrument. And so, whereas to enter the market in the past, you would have had to have a minimum of $5,000 to do so, we have not brought it down to 500 EC minimum.
So that's the minimum investment.
500 EC. You could, an individual can invest from 500 EC dollars to up to $50,000.
Right.
That's if he has the money to do so. And again, the initiative takes a similar process. To do an investment on the stock market, you would have to go through a broker-dealer.
Right.
And in our region, there are about 6 broker-dealers operating right now. Here in Grenada, we have the Grenada Cooperative Bank.
Right.
There is the St. Kitts Anguilla National Bank. There is the Bank of Nevis Limited. In St. Lucia, there is two institutions. I think one is called FIX, Financial Services, as well as Bank of St. Lucia. In St. Vincent, you have the Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I think I would have covered all of those broker-dealers. But again, to be able to invest or to represent your registration, you can go to the website www.finance.gd, and there you will get an opportunity to basically register as somebody interested in participating in the household bond that is coming up. The household bond will be issued sometime in November, I think the 21st of November. So we have given you the period from now until that time to basically register, show your interest, provide the information to the broker dealers. They can find it there, and we'll hope that Grenadians take up the offer in a big way. The offer is also open to any Grenadian anywhere in the world. You could be living in the US, England, Canada, other Caribbean islands. You can access this financial instrument and make good your investment. So it's not only for Grenadians living in Grenada, it's for all Grenadians in the diaspora.
Is it also open to CARICOM nationals or just Grenadians?
Grenadians living in Grenada as well as
and the diaspora.
However, I would say that because it's a pilot project right now between Grenada and St. Kitts and Nevis, you may find, for example, people living in the OECS region would want to be on board of this thing. And again, this first bond issue for retail residential households, is expected to expand itself thereafter. So as part of the Financial Information Month, which is normally in October of each year, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is working along with the countries to ensure that the populace get sufficient information on this household bond, as well as other financial matters that they need to know. Because, you know, we have a situation in Grenada or elsewhere in the region where the interest rate on savings is just 2%. And we are going to allow our citizens to be able to participate in an instrument that earns 4.25% interest on an annual basis. However, this interest payment is done on a half-yearly basis. Right. So if we say 4.2% on your amount of investment, in May and November, we basically pay you 2 halves of the interest and so on.
Okay.
At the end of the 2-year cycle, which is the bond going to be for, you get back your principal amount that you would have invested.
Plus interest.
Well, the interest would have been paid.
Would have been paid up.
Initially. Okay. So it's a very safe investment. It's backed by the consolidated fund, meaning that the charges on that will be paid by the government of Grenada, and in St. Kitts case by the government of St. Kitts. So you have no fear. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's not any kind of gimmicks we're trying here. We're trying to get our populace in a mode of investing and to get a greater participation on the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange.
Would you say that this is in keeping with the Financial Literacy Months?
It is in keeping with the Financial Literacy Month, because a lot of us and so on, we do business and so on without knowing much. We are giving you this opportunity to basically expand your knowledge base on how to invest. I mean, our colleagues in the diaspora may have participated on bonds issues and so on in the US, or the private entities and so on that were offering shares and so on. But we want to make sure that our people in Grenada and our Grenadians to be part and parcel of what is happening on the stock exchange at this point in time.
But the bond issue itself is not a very large amount. It's only $5 million.
Well, for now. But imagine if you have $5 million and you have to find $500 or $1,000 to make up that. It spreads across a wide cross-section of the population. And so, yes, as I said, it's not about the monies itself. It's about getting the populace to get a feel or understanding how to invest. And that's why we are pushing. We are supported by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. We are supported by the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange on these things. And so we're all working in the interest of the Grenadian population, wherever you are.
Yeah, because generally when government issues bond is up to $100 million. I remember many years ago, $100 million bond was raised on the International Stock Exchange.
Yeah, but again, when you have those large amounts and so on, those persons who participate are not individuals, more or less.
Yeah.
It was the insurance company, the banks.
Big entities.
Yeah, big entities that can afford to put a lot of money aside.
Yeah.
And then again, you know, when that issues are made, the country doing it or the company doing it and so on would have had to have the wherewithal to make sure they can pay the interest on a timely basis.
Right.
I mean, they would provide what is called a prospectus. In this case, our bond issue, there is a prospectus on our site. That's www.finance.gd. Again, you can go to read the prospectus and so on and make your independent decision.
Okay.
As I said, it's probably one of the safest bonds that we're going to be issuing and so on, because it's backed by the faith of the Constitution and the consolidated fund that we have in Grenada. So in other words, all your payments are backed by the consolidated fund.
Right. So the average fisherman or agricultural worker, farmer, or whosoever it is, can minimum $500 investment.
Yes.
And if they wish to have more details, they can go to www.finance.gd.
They can register there and also indicate which broker-dealer they want, because there would have been a list of broker-dealers there.
Right.
To allow you to basically conduct that business. But you must be in it to be able to participate.
Right. And can they also invest online?
Well, when you basically place your investment information, if it says, for example, Grenada Cooperative Bank, Grenada Cooperative Bank would basically follow up with you to make sure that you're authentic, you want to do it, where you get the monies from to invest, and they would make sure that they have all the information, because you don't want to have something that says, okay, I want to invest, but when the day comes, you're not ready for the investment. So you have to have the monies available to do that. And
right, definitely.
We are still talking about Grenada's participation in terms of the government and how we basically assist to get the fees for the broker-dealers down a bit. I am not saying that it's going to be free, because nothing is free in this world, but we're going to try to make sure that we negotiate with the broker-dealers to have a reasonable fee for persons who have $500 to invest.
Right. Now, subject to your negotiations, what is the present fee charged by brokers?
I cannot give you an exact fee at the moment. I must say I cannot, because, again, those fees I have seen in the past, they were designed for institutions like banks and insurance companies.
Yeah.
And that is why we said that, the minimum that you could have invested then was $5,000. Now we're talking about $500. So the banks and who are broker dealers have to now look at it and see what they while making that investment. Or the government would have a partnership with them to make sure that they can provide the service for the common man on the ground.
Right. Now, how do you respond to the opposition making certain derogatory statements relative to this household bond pilot project?
Well, I haven't heard them as yet, because I would say to them that before you make derogatory statements about anything that the government is doing, you must have your facts. And I'm not talking to spin your facts. We know there are a lot of spin bowlers outside there doing all the nonsense and so on. Whatever hit the market from the NDC, they would take it and spin it as though they are the best spinners in the West Indies and so on. But people, be real with yourself and so on. You are getting the best information from the best place. Do not let those spin bowlers outside there twist your head on those things and so on. We are doing that for you. We are providing this service for you as the population. And so if anybody try to tell you that the investment is not a good one, I'm saying that you have other independent persons that you can go to. You're a broker dealer. You're not paying them for the service just to basically put your investment in place. They have an obligation to basically advise you whether or not the investment you're making is good or bad. So forget the spin bowlers outside there and so on. There will be a lot of them.
Right. Now, after the bond issue has come to an end, if an investor wishes to continue with the investment, what is the plan in place to continue that investment portfolio? Okay,
so as I said before, right now we are doing a pilot.
Yeah, just a pilot.
A pilot basically is intended to look at the response, the feedback we get from it and so on. So it gives us an opportunity to basically tweak where things are not going as is it. But again, we have 8 OECS countries, Anguilla, Montserrat, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Lucia, and Grenada. So these would be opened up afterwards and based on the results of the pilot to all the countries that are part of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, the ECC member countries. And so we can see going forward that more bond issues will come on board and so on. This phase is basically to give you the aptitude or the appetite to see how you can invest in your stock exchange, expanding the amount of transaction and business on the stock exchange. And you as an individual will be able to earn a higher interest rate on those investments. So coming on soon, there will be lots more bonds on the stock exchange for individuals. And even when we have a major bond by a government or a treasury bill, we can talk about carving out a portion for households only. In other words, if you go on the market right now to be able to participate in a bond, the investors that are there, the institutional investors, may cover up all this in a short space of time. But with this practice that you're going through right now, you would be able to get some sense as to how this thing operates and be able to participate in those bigger bonds. But again, we are hoping that we can carve out a portion of any bond that's going out so that the common man in the households and so on would be able to participate in it.
So in essence, this is a training ground, a training session for our people to understand how to access and how to participate in bond issuance.
Simply put, it's not no rocket science. It's there to allow you to get the knowledge, the know-how, to be able to invest your money other than put it in the bank and on in a 2% interest rate. Because right now the minimal interest rate on savings is 2%.
Yep, and the interest rate on this particular bond issue is 4.25%.
Paid semi-annually.
Right. I want to believe the uptick to it would be great. But I also believe that a lot of folks would be saying, well, Minister, please extend this 2-year on to another 2 years.
Well, that might be
3 years.
That might be so based on the experience, and I believe that once you get people into the habit of doing a particular thing, they would basically be on board. I am confident, based on all that we have told the population so far, that it's a safe investment. You get a higher interest rate there for a 2-year period and so on. We want you to get into the habit of basically investing on the stock exchange. Confident that we can get a great demand from the population. So, I mean, I've had calls over the last couple of days and people asking me, how can I do it? People from England, the States, even my friends in Grenada asking me, is that a safety? And I give them the yes. So I believe, the Minister of Finance has a valid word. And so I know a lot of people believe in me, unlike those out there who are spreading all kind of propaganda about Mr. Cornwall and so on as Minister of Finance. In fact, I read something this morning. I don't want to call him, but I'm saying, guys, get off that nonsense, please. This Minister of Finance is here to give clarity and information to the general public for their good and not for your nonsense.
Propaganda and misinformation.
Misinformation, that's the order on the other side.
Well, unfortunately, we live in a world and a society today where misinformation and propaganda is going to be the order of the day because AI is now...
They're not ceasing. I mean, come on.
AI is now advancing.
And you have to be very careful because, I mean, you might say something on the social media and you swear it's true.
Yep.
When you hear the story behind it and so on, the names of the countries they're calling and so on, I mean, if you're talking about Grenada, give me facts that are based on Grenada, not on another island somewhere else and so on. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh boy.
Absolutely.
But this is what it is.
No.
And there are those that are only talking about we give them information on need-to-know basis and so on. We're not propagating falsehood and false information. And we do not want to be like you out there providing misinformation or disinformation to the general public. At some point in time, they would find you out because there is so many options out there to get information. And sooner or later, when you're telling people and so on that the government bad spending money or they mismanaging money and so on, it's going to hit you back in your face because people can see that the houses are going up, the roads are built and so on. And they can see evidence of that through our social media streams that we have. So continue.
Well,
just make our case much better for us.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the opposition has alleged that the government needs money badly, hence the reason why they're setting up this bond. But when you look at the relationship with the World Bank report, which indicates or confirm that Grenada has consistent growth year after year, and then the Financial Responsibility Oversight Committee has reconfirmed the good management of the finances and the progress that the country is making, you ask yourself, well again, what sort of nonsense is this?
Again, as I said, we have had the IMF Article 4 consultations for the last 3 years in Grenada. And each one of them would have given the government good bill of health where the economy is concerned. I mean, they have not been only here 3 years ago. They have been here since my days in the public service and so on. And there were times that we get very negative report because we were doing a lot of nonsense. I'm not talking about this administration.
No, the previous.
We have demonstrated to Grenada based on the reports that we have gotten from our international and regional institutions that we're doing a good job. And so we have to continue to do what we're doing. You know, the noise in the market is not the sale of the fish, as far as I'm concerned. And so when you say we give you information on need-to-know basis and so on, I'm saying to you, we are not out there coming to give you falsehoods. We give you the truth. If you want to spin the truth and make it what your reality is, then fine. I heard a big minister talking about Grenada and a tailspin and so on. Now, when you say there was nonsense out there to the rest of the world...
You mean an opposition minister?
Minister.
Yes.
Well, member, not minister.
Opposition member, sir.
Saying that country is in tailspin. And the growth of the country is sliding fast. The country is in, a decline. When you say that to the world outside there and so on, who are you fooling? Because it's not only what I say or the Ministry of Finance put out. It's what the ECCB put out, what the CDB puts out, what the IMF and World Bank put out, and other institutions and so on. Look, we are out there in the market looking for funding for our projects, our major projects and so on. Why you think we are so positive and why you think that we're getting so much success on those and so on? $5 million bonds is just a drop in the ocean that we're talking about.
A drop in the bucket, yeah.
So when you try to tell people the government broke, and that's why we are there borrowing and so on,
exactly.
you have to understand how a country runs. A country can run on its own resources when we need much more than that we own into it. In fact, to build your own house, you may have some dollars coming in on a monthly basis and so on. Can you build your house with those monthly income? You have to go to a bank, get a large amount of money and build a house and then pay by the bank over a long period. And that's exactly what we're doing. When they're talking about you're borrowing, and you're putting the country in debt, ask them how much debt we met when we came into office. 2.7 billion EC dollars, about a billion US dollars. What is the debt today and so on? We have shown you that we have brought the debt down by paying our debt on a timely basis. Right? When we disburse those monies that we are now currently looking for, then we can say we add to the debt. But so far, we have not added to the debt. We have paid down the debt to a large extent. So again, get your facts straight and so on, because there are people out there who knows the information and have the information. And so when you make those negative statements about the country, you are not fooling anybody outside. You're fooling yourselves.
Absolutely so indeed. But the population should understand $5 million bond is nothing for a government, for a country.
Do you know what it is to pay public servants and so on a monthly basis?
About 30 million,
30 million plus.
Okay.
Right.
30 plus.
So a $5 million
what is 5 million?
To basically put you in the driver's seat to make your own investment and so on. You're talking about government broke and that kind of stuff.
I think what is happening is that maybe the opposition cannot yet come to grips to the fact that this government is providing leadership, is providing education, financial wherewithal, and guidance.
And again,
when it comes to financing.
And again, I'm saying it. You don't have to go and ask somebody else or me. What we provide you with is what it is and so on. Not like the Batiste and the Jenny Simons or they who talking a lot of rubbish on radios and so on. I don't want to go down that route and so on. But people, let us do the government work and avoid the distraction of what you put out there and so on. Because you're making a populace more dumb when you give them the kind of falsehood outside there and so on. Don't do it.
It's important that even if you are in opposition, you provide responsible information to the public.
Exactly.
Just in case, who knows, maybe way down the road, you get into office. How do you respond to those issues?
That's right. And we as a government, we are not afraid of criticism. Criticism will come left, right, or center. We are not afraid of criticism. What I'm saying is, if the criticism
be objective,
and speak truth, I don't mind. But when you go out there and make all this negativity and so on, referring to the Prime Minister's demonic and all them kind of nonsense, how that help you?
Yeah, this is real crazy.
You can't do that.
This is irresponsible.
Right? People's personal business, you're only taking and make it a mockery on the radio and social media and so on. I don't come out there and talk about those things and so on, but I could.
Consequently, a commitment was made to plant a seed of learning, to advance a forest of opportunity to you, the trainees at UNO. This notion of helping students, of helping young people throughout Grenada has always been a key mission of our NDC Florida chapter. NDC, as you know, is a political organization, but our chapter has done a lot outside of politics. We have helped quite a few sporting institutions throughout the Grenada carry through everything that need. We've helped several schools with other items of need. This tool project should be very significant to you, because in our commitment to youth development, you are the first recipients in this initiative.
We have to make sure that political parties, that people work in political parties understand that they're here to serve the people and that their job is ultimately to always find ways in which they can make the politics and the political institutions attractive to people to serve. If you have that calling to serve others, to serve your community, to serve your institution, and to serve your nation. And that ultimately is what it is about. It's about being in service to the public in very much way, or teachers, or policemen, or prison officers, and others that are in service to the public. It is just another form of service, one that's perhaps the most difficult and challenging, but it is service nonetheless. So I want to thank Leslie and the team at the NDC Florida chapter for taking on this significant task and making sure that they can play a meaningful role in making politics a positive experience and outcome for particularly our young people in bringing that character in youth parliament.
Welcome back to the NDC podcast for today's Sunday. I must apologize for this little break, but it was a good opportunity for us to showcase the presentation of a container load of equipment, which was donated to NULO. And this was made possible by the NDC Florida chapter. We were with Minister of Finance, and we were inviting him to just make his closing remarks. And just remember, we'll be showcasing to you the Prime Minister's presentation to the United Nations yesterday. So, Minister, your closing remarks, please.
Thank you, Terry, again for the invitation to be part of this NDC Heartbeat program today, Sunday. I must say always is a pleasure to be here. And I just want the nation to know that we as an NDC government is working hard for you. We know that sooner or later, we are going to be entering what is called election year, the silly season for some people. And so I want you to leave here with no doubt that the NDC government is working hard to be able to retain government in the next cycle. And so to our supporters and others out there who are working behind the scenes, make sure that you register and you get involved in participating in the upcoming elections on. We have no doubt that we win that election coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure for you to be on the Heartbeat today. And let me say thank you to Leslie McQueen out in Florida. He is the president of the NDC Florida chapter and made it possible for NULO to receive a 20-foot container of tools for that school.
Get ready for a night of celebration. The NDC New York chapter proudly invites you to our party's 38th anniversary and awards reception. Happening October 18th at 7:30 p.m. right here at Our Lady of Miracles Paris Center, 757 East 86th Street, between Flatlands Avenue and Glenwood Road in Brooklyn. Dress to impress and join us as we honor our legacy and empower our future with special guest of honor, Honorable Kerryn James, MP for St. John. Tickets are $150 all inclusive. Get your early bird discount for just $125 before September 19th. Visit ndcnewyorkchapter.com or call 347-729-5770 for more information. Celebrate Grenada's excellence. Secure your ticket now for the NDC New York chapter's 38th anniversary and award reception. Be part of an unforgettable night of elegance and class. Don't miss the party of the year. See you there.